Okay, good afternoon again, everyone. Welcome to the another briefing in the Southeastern Europe on the Internet governance and digital developments from March 2017. I hope you have managed to catch up something on a global level. So we'll now switch to a review of what happened in March in Southeastern Europe and what's coming in, or at least what we can envisage for April. Greetings on behalf of the Belgrade crew. So here in Diplo's office in Belgrade, a couple of us joined. We'll continue afterwards with some coffee and snacks. Thank you all for joining online. Well, welcome on behalf of DiploFoundation and TheGIP. Without further ado, I'll pass the floor to Serena to welcome you on behalf of TheGIP and run through the main developments. She will alert you this time we have a little bit of a change or a little bit of amusement during the presentation with a couple of polls that Serena will invite you to fill in and vote as we go, just to measure, as some of the diplomatic processes would say, to measure the temperature in the room. Serena, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Vlada. Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me well, both in Belgrade and online. Thanks for confirming. All right, so let's see what happened this month and at the end of February in our region in terms of internet governance and digital policy development. We have just published our summary as well, and you can find it online. I'm pretty sure someone will share the link a bit later. But anyway, it's on both Diplo sites and TheGIP site. We start with the domain name system. Some of you, or those of you who have followed the previous briefing last month or read the summary last month, have learned about sort of a saga in Romania about the country code top level domain, the .ro, with the plans from the ministry to elaborate a law managing on the management of the country code top level domain. So what happened after the announcement was that several stakeholders in the country have sent a letter to the ministry outlining a series of principles which they saw as being key for any regulation on .ro, and some of those are related to transparency, openness, accountability, regulatory flexibility, and a clear separation between the role of the registry and the registrars. At the same time, there has been a law for many years under debate in the parliament on the same issue, the management of .ro, and the responsible parliamentary committee for reviewing that draft law decided to propose that the law is rejected, and the reasons were related to the fact that in the view of the parliamentary committee, the draft law was not clear enough on issues related to the introduction of annual maintenance fee for .ro domain names and some issues related to privacy and data protection. So the .ro saga will most probably continue in the months to come or the years to come, considering that this draft law was initiated in 2013 and now we are 4 years later. There is a poll, if those of you connected to the Adobe room might want to fill it in. Well, some of you have already, but let me read it as well. Should there be a national law on Cctlds? Yes, Cctld is a national resource and it should be regulated, yes, but only if the inputs of stakeholders are included, and no, managing Cctlds should be done by the entire internet community itself. And most of you so far are saying yes, but only if the inputs of stakeholders are included. As far as I know, I don't think in our region there are many countries which actually have regulations on the country code top level domain, but it's interesting to see your responses. The poll will stay there for a bit longer, so we will see the results later. Continuing, related to infrastructure in Turkey, Turk Telecom subsidiary Arcangela opened a research and development center for 5G at the Ankara Middle East Technical University, and the purpose is basically to carry on research on how to develop technologies for, they say, secure 5G telecommunication infrastructure. And in Greece, the National Space Agency is finalizing work on a new Greek satellite called HeLaSat-3, which, among others, is expected to provide internet access to airplanes in Europe. As usual, we have also put together a list of events that happened in the region over the past month, and on issues related to infrastructure and technologies. These were some of the events, and you can read short summaries about them in our summary, so I will not go through them now. Economic. In Armenia, the country's parliament has passed a law on new tax incentives for IT companies. This is mainly targeted at startups. Most of them will be provided with some sort of incentives, allowing them to basically develop at a faster pace. And in Turkey, the competition authority has launched an investigation to determine whether Google has breached competition legislation. And this is not the first time when competition authorities in the country are looking into Google practices, but previous times they decided not to open the investigation. Now apparently there have been some new findings determining them to look more carefully and to officially open the investigation. So we will see what this will lead to. Development. In Serbia, the government has launched a new e-government service aimed to remind citizens about the expiration dates of their documents. So basically, 30 days before the expiration of your ID card or driver license or things related, you will receive a notification either via email or SMS at your choice about this expiration date. And there are also plans to enhance the government portal to allow credit cards payment. In Armenia and in Serbia, there have been two initiatives launched capacity development-wise to teach programming languages. In Armenia to demobilize young people, and in Serbia for mothers. And one of the programs, the one in Serbia, is carried on online. Several events, development related in the region, and I will only briefly talk about one of them in the context of the ICANN 58 meeting, which happened earlier this month in Copenhagen. We held a brief meeting with civic stakeholders from our region, to discuss a bit about what is happening in our region, internet governance related, and to talk about the planning activities for the civic meeting. And the main point of discussion was related to how we can strengthen participation from stakeholders in the region in both civic and other internet governance processes. So that is still considered to be a main challenge in the region, internet governance related. Moving forward, cybersecurity and cybercrime, and here we will also have a new poll. So my colleagues in Belgrade, thank you. I will read that later, but meanwhile you are more than welcome to fill it in. So back to Serbia. Some time ago, the public authorities in the country have adopted a law on cybersecurity, and now there are steps being taken to implement that law, and one of them is a new regulation entered into force this month, which details criteria to be met by computer emergency response teams for inclusion in a dedicated registry maintained by the government. In practical terms, this means that the government is recognizing and regulating privately owned certs, and this is expected to open the market for private organizations in terms of providing cybersecurity services. In Armenia, some stats provided by Kaspersky Lab have shown that in 2016, every third internet users in the country faced cyber threats. The average number of threats faced by a single individual user was 13, and apparently there are more threats coming from internal networks than external from outside the country. In Bulgaria, according to recent WikiLeaks announcements, the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency in the USA, has monitored some 150 IP addresses belonging to telecom companies, ISPs, banks, universities, among others. And apparently these IP addresses were simply zombies used to carry on surveillance and espionage activities. And in Bosnia and Herzegovina, the Federal Police Administration has issued a review showing that the number of reported cyber attacks from both individuals and entities has increased recently, and as such the police has also issued a series of recommendations on how both individuals and entities can prevent and mitigate cybercrime attacks on their networks and devices. And going to the poll, reading it, in your opinion, what is the most widespread cybercrime in Southeastern Europe? Ransomware, phishing, DDoS, web defacement, or spam? And now looking at your responses, there is some equality between ransomware and spam, and we will get back to this later. I think we can do that. Reading Vlada's comment in the chat, why did CIA only monitor Bulgarian ISP? Well, maybe they did some other, but we just don't know. We should be looking more carefully into what they actually spied on. 3 events, cybersecurity and cybercrime related in the region, a RIPE NCC meeting in Kiev for Ukrainian law enforcement agencies, a conference on cybersecurity in Sarajevo, and the annual Cloud Security Alliance for Central and Eastern Europe Summit in Ljubljana. On privacy and data protection, two developments in the region. First of all, in Romania, the Ministry of Internal Affairs has launched a public consultation on a draft law which is aimed to amend previous legislation on electronic identity cards. There has been legislation in Romania for quite many years about the introduction of EIDs. They have never been introduced, so we are still using the normal, usual ID cards, but now the ministry is saying that the law will be implemented and these things will become reality. What the civil society is saying, however, is that this new draft law fails to look carefully into issues related to privacy and data protection and does not address properly 3 main issues: a data protection impact assessment, clarity on who can access the data and how, and the cost-benefit analysis on the introduction of EIDs and related issues. In Serbia, quite recent development, a hacker discovered a publicly accessible database with personal data of over 400,000 citizens, including ID numbers, addresses, phone numbers, and so on. And Data Protection Authority in the country has called for the prosecution and the police to take the case into consideration because there must have been some privacy breaches and breach of the applicable legislation. Going to the last batch of developments, content policy, and here we will have the third poll. Thank you. We have 3 main developments. In Turkey, Yandex and Turkcell are developing a new search engine to be available exclusively in Turkey and to include content only in Turkish language. And this follows an announcement made by the Turkish government in early 2017 saying that the country will be working on such a search engine, which among others would be in line with Turkish culture and values, within quotation marks, and will allow for the storage of data of users within the country's borders. In Ukraine, the Ministry of Information Policy is compiling a list of websites to be blocked because apparently they undermine Ukrainian sovereignty. What the ministry is saying is that, okay, they are putting together the list, but those are only recommendations. They will be reviewed by some secret service as well as a council, which is yet to be determined how it will be composed and who will be on that council. And apparently there will also be some final decision in a court of law. At least this is what the ministry is saying at the point. And broadly in the region, Twitter has released its transparency report for the second half of 2016, and according to this report, the largest volume of takedown requests from a government came from Turkey. And there are 3 other countries from our region or the neighboring area which appear in this report, and these are Azerbaijan, Belarus, and Greece. And going to the poll, content control should be implemented to ensure that following types of content are blocked: hate speech, violence, gambling, fake news, separatist content, undermining state sovereignty. We now have only 2 responses, both of them for violence, but you are more than welcome to continue to respond to this poll. We have several upcoming events in the region. This is only a very brief overview of some of them. We will be writing about them in our April summary, and meanwhile a kind reminder to everyone that if there is anything happening in your country, any event, any development, please write to us and we will make sure to include these developments in our next summaries. And with this, basically the presentation is over. I'm not sure if we can see the results of all these 3 polls, but I give the floor back to Vlada and everyone else in Belgrade.
Thank you, Serena, for the good overview. We remind everyone that there is also a summary prepared, which is available on the websites of CDIG and Diplo, and we'll distribute further. Is there anything we had some exchange of jokes and thoughts in the chat? Thank you, Serena, for reading some of those. But on a serious side, is there anything that we missed that anyone wants to add or to comment? Any of the news which have appeared in the last 2 days or something that we might want to share further? Thank you, Serena, for the link on the IG summary. If not, maybe Serena, before the end, just a reminder where we are with the CDIG preparations. Is there anything that the participants should take into consideration when it comes to deadlines, applying to join in Ohrid?
Thank you, Vlada. Yes, we are now 2 months away from the meeting, so we're trying to go ahead with the preparations. First of all, content-wise, we have the various organizing teams working on the various sessions, so thank you to everyone involved in that. The next deadline for them is 15 April to decide on the actual content of the various sessions. Beyond that, we will hopefully be publishing soon some information about transportation to Ohrid. The deadlines for applications for both the youth school and the fellowship program have passed, and now we'll be reviewing the applications, and hopefully we will be able to announce the selected participants within 2 weeks' time. And beyond that, we have recently launched a call for applications for an internship program. Basically, we are looking for 1-2 people from the region to help us with these last 2 months of preparations for Ohrid. The internship will not be remunerated. As you know, CDIG doesn't really have such a big budget, but we will be able to provide the interns with travel and accommodation support to join us in Ohrid for the meeting. So kind request to everyone in the room, both in Belgrade and online, if you know someone that might be interested in this program, or if you yourself are interested, please go online and apply. The deadline is at the end of this week on Sunday. And we really need someone quickly, so we will be announcing the selected interns probably sometimes next week. I'm not sure if I've missed anything, but there is Dusan there in Belgrade and Liana online, I think so. Guys, if I've missed anything, please go ahead and mention it. And thank you.
Thank you, Serena. Anyone from Belgrade want to add anything that we missed? Any comment? Anything? No? There were two recent updates from Belgrade that I realized yesterday and today. One is that the Share Foundation, an NGO, an advocacy NGO for online rights, has joined or become a member of EDRI, the European Digital Rights Organization Network, which is great news. And the second one is that there is a plan for a cooperation between the Ministry of Telecommunication, Microsoft, and other players in Serbia to install wireless in a number of hundreds of schools in Serbia. But let's see how it's going to develop in the next months. If there is nothing else to share, thank you, Serena, for sharing the updates about the CDIG and the plans for the Ohrid meeting in May. I hope we'll all get her over there. And with that, I think we can close the meeting. And see you the last Tuesday of April, which I'm not sure which date it is exactly, but you'll take a look in the calendar. And the same place, same time, last Tuesday of April, to see what has happened in April, 27th of April. Thank you, Serena. Thank you all for joining.